Hi everyone, so I've tried filming this multiple times. I keep ending up with this being like an hour long, and it's hard for me to add photos to the video and then post it. So I'm gonna try again, see what I can do, and try to get under an hour and be able to post photos. So most of the books I'm talking about I do own, so that might help. But there are a few books I still need to get. So the first book that I'm going to talk about that I really like this year is Carnal Urges by J.T. Geissinger. I really like this book. This is probably my favorite of the series. This is book 2. Now you've got the characters of Sloane and Declan, and he's an Irish mob boss, and he kidnaps her to try to get back at like his enemy, which is Sloane's best friend. Sloane's best friend's boyfriend. He doesn't realize he kidnapped the wrong girl for the fact that she gets under everybody's skin. Like, she has a way about her where she has a lot of people start liking her, and they're like, hey, we really like her. We don't want to, we don't want to do anything. So he, she definitely delves underneath his skin too. I really enjoyed this one. It is more, mafia-ish, so those types of novels are more darker in tone, so they're more of a dark romance. So, but yeah, this one I really enjoyed this one by her. The rest of the series was okay, but this one here I'd say is definitely my favorite out of the whole series is this one. I love that one a lot. So the next one from J.T. Geissinger that I really liked this year was Pen Pal. Now this one here is an erotic paranormal thriller. It is definitely not a traditional romance, but it ends in a way that I felt satisfied with it, so. But this one here, you've got the characters of Kayla and Aiden, and this here, it's like she's recently divorced, and she ends up meeting this man named Aiden, and they get into a sexual relationship very quickly. Or no, she's not divorced. She lost her husband, and so she starts to see things around her house like paranormal activity, and it really kind of starts to freak her out. So this was really good. I really enjoyed this one a lot, and I do like the cover. So, but yeah, I like that one. The next is How Many Ruby Dixons? So the first one is The Corsairs. This is Adiron. So you can tell this is a pretty thick book. But this one here, of course, it's like in space. It's the Corsair Brothers series. So you've got like 3 of the brothers. I think it's 3 or 4 of the brothers are brothers. And they're essentially space pirates. So they end up going to this ship that is kind of like stranded. It's in the middle of nowhere. They figured they can go and steal parts for to sell, and they come across these women. So it's Adiron and Jade, I believe her name is. Yeah. So this is Friends to Lovers. There is a surprise pregnancy in here. All the books basically have a surprise pregnancy. So, sci-fi slow burn. So I will say, though, that Ruby Dixon kind of contradicts herself a little bit. Because in this here, it's like the women get pregnant like super fast. And then on Rizda 3, the ladies need help. But I think the way the story is I think all of these women were going to be used as, like, I guess you could say, wombs. So I think they all have like they probably all were injected with like like stuff to help them get pregnant. So I it might have happened with this series. If I remember correctly, I have to reread this again because it was toward the beginning of the year that I read this. So I do need to reread this again, because I'm like, wait, it kind of contradicts the Rizdaverse then. You know, if these women were able to get pregnant, how come these other women weren't able to get pregnant, you know, without using like some kind of fertility treatments? So I think it's possible that the women were injected with this fertility stuff so that way they can get pregnant easy, and used as like, you know, obviously wombs and all that stuff. So I think that's what it was for this one here. I have to reread it again, but it's been a while. But I really like this one because I really liked Adiron. I thought he was really, I want to say Ron. I really liked him because he was funny. He was funny. He was very patient with her, especially because, you know, they were surviving on their own for a little while, you know, on the ship. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, it is a pretty thick one. I'm pretty sure this is a part of her, it's like a series that she does where she writes chapters every week or whatever it is. And so she does it on her Facebook page. So if you're part of her Facebook page, every week you can go and read like a new chapter, you know. So I guess you'd say she's kind of giving it to you for free to read. But I didn't want to do that. I'd rather read the book, you know, intact, you know, not have to wait every week for a new chapter. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed this one. And if you could see, like, there's a spaceship right there. So I liked that one. That was pretty good. Some of the other books in the series I really wasn't a fan of, but I did like this one here. So we got the Corsair's Strike. So this is, he's not a brother, but he essentially was involved with like helping to recover these women. Sorry, I'm still getting over a cold. So he essentially was helping these women. So he's essentially trying to help these women. And he finds out there's something in his family that they possibly could be a part of this, you know, human trafficking ring. And so he takes off in his spaceship, basically leaves like everybody on this one ship, and one of the humans stowed away on his ship. And so it's basically their story. So we've got Strake and Ruth. So obviously surprise pregnancy, virgin hero. It's, you know, enemies to lovers, slow burn, great banter. I thought he was a cinnamon roll hero. So I really enjoyed that one. You could see the ship in the back too. So yeah, I really like that one a lot. And as you can see, they are pretty thick books. So they're definitely slow burn ones. So the next one is Pretty Human. I had gotten this here that's an anthology that has Pretty Human in here. So this one here's got The Alien's Mail Order Bride, When She's Married, Pretty Human, and When She's Bold. So I'll just use this here. And so you got the characters of Varric and Millie. Now he's Lord Varric. He sees her and sees that she's up for like sale. And he doesn't want her to go into human trafficking. He doesn't think that's right, you know. So instead he decides he will buy her so he could free her. And so she's bought as a slave, and the hero is, you know, he means to free her, but him and her end up falling for each other. I thought it was really sweet. It was a cute novella. That's why I think it was in here, because they're all like novella size. So the next one is, this wasn't in this one. No, that wasn't in this one. I'll have to put it up right here. This is When She's Lonely. This is part of the Rizdaverse series. This is Rizdaverse number 7. So you got Ashley and Kex. So this is a friends to lovers sci-fi disabled heroine. She's hard of hearing. He goes out to her farm because she keeps like messing something up. And he kind of is frustrated with her and he's like, oh, she's so annoying. But then he ends up figuring out she's hard of hearing. That's why she wasn't able to understand the instructions. She is better with like reading lips. And so once he finds that out, he goes and he helps her. And then he, once he sees her more often, he realizes he's falling for her. And so with her, she didn't want to be a burden. That's the thing, is like when you are disabled in some way, whether mentally disabled or physically disabled, you don't want to be a burden to people around you. You don't want to feel like you're less than, you want to feel like you're, you could do just the same thing as anybody else. So with her, she didn't want to admit that she was, hard of hearing, less than. People would treat her differently. She didn't want to be treated differently. So I know what that's like. People want to treat you with kid gloves, and so it's like, no, just because I'm disabled, it doesn't mean that I need people to constantly help me. So I did like that fact of it, that she didn't want to look like she was helpless and weak, especially when it came to being kidnapped. If you were looked at as weak, they kind of like, wanted to let you die and stuff like that. So she didn't want to show that, because her hearing aids were taken from her when she was stolen from Earth. They took her hearing aids, so she wasn't able to, have them. So that was the downside to that, is that the poor woman had no hearing aids. So the next one I really enjoyed is Floor's Fiasco. Now this is part of the Ice Home series, Ice Home book 16. And so this one here has got Floor and Irek. So they're friends to lovers. She's funny. I really liked her. She had a really good sense of humor. Now she is, she's been on the ice planet for how many years? And her and Irek are more or less like friends. They're friends, and he brings these letters, finally. Whoever's running water drives me nuts. It gets so loud sometimes. So, he gets these letters from Tia, because he's thinking of being interested in Tia and having her as like a pleasure mate, but she lives in like another village. They live toward the beach, and so she lives farther inland, more like obviously where it's colder and stuff like that. So they would have letters to each other, and so Floor is kind of used as like, he's like, oh, what did she mean in this letter? What does she mean by that? And so Floor is kind of like trying to explain to him, like, oh, well, Tia means this, she means that. So in the meantime, what happens is that the Quee, their Quee, that parasite in their chest, decides for them, like, hey, you guys would make a good match. So he ends up like starting feeling like this jealousy and like this possessiveness toward other men around Floor. And he's like, why are they near her? No, kind of thing. And all of a sudden it's like he goes up to see her because he's mad at like the one person. He walks up the hill to see her, and all of a sudden he's like, wait, my chest is vibrating. She's his mate. So this one here I really did enjoy, but I will say Floor definitely had some insecurities, because she was like, well, does he really like me for me, or does he like me because because I'm his mate, because we had resonance. So that's kind of like, was like in the back of her head constantly. But I really liked her. I thought she was funny. And I really did enjoy this. But I will say that if you're not careful, the covers to the books will kind of tease you, because if you could see a spaceship, so you can kind of figure, okay, there's going to be something else going on in this book that happens, and it does at the end. And, you know, it's interesting for sure. I'm sucking on a cough drop right now so I can stop coughing. So that's the thing with, like, whenever I have a cold and my cold ends, it kind of lingers, like the cough will linger, where I get like hoarse, and then I just keep coughing and hacking. And sometimes it's hard for me to sleep at night, so I have to like prop myself up so I can breathe properly until this, you know, stuff goes out of me. So I hate getting sick. That's the thing, because I have like like an asthmatic bronchitis. So my asthma usually comes in when like really bad allergies, or like when I have a cold. It, you know, because of my asthma, a colds kind of linger sometimes. So the next one I ended up reading was When She's Pregnant. So this is part of the Rizdaverse. This is number 8. So this was a quick novella. I love this one. So we got Naomi and Einar. So he's a virgin hero. He's a cinnamon roll hero. This is breeding kink and a pregnancy trope. So Naomi wanted to have a baby because she was lonely in her farm. She didn't know if she'd be able to find a mate. She didn't really care about finding a mate. She just wanted a baby. So she decides to hire this guy who can help impregnate her, because she took fertility treatments. And so the guy bails out on her, and she needs somebody else who can, you know, put the P in the V. So she ends up going to the post custodial office where Einar is there, and he's by himself. And so, you know, he's trying to help her out, and he realizes, oh, she's asking for sex. So he's like, okay, I'll impregnate you, you know. And the more they become intimate, the more he's like, I like her, you know, I like her, I want to be her mate, you know. So I thought it was really sweet. I just like it because he was 2 nice people. He was nice, she was nice. She wanted to have a baby, and he was willing to help her out. And, you know, they started to like, oh, hey, let's date. Let's decide to date, because I like you, you like me. Let's try this out. So that was really sweet. I really enjoyed that one. And also, I would say the last one I would talk about, this is just recent, is I just read When She's Merry by Ruby Dixon. This is a Christmas novella. I thought this was really sweet because this was between Devin and Sineth. He says, call me Sin. And she's like, no. I'm not going to call you Sin. But I thought it was sweet. So he goes to her home because there's some kind of rodent issue. So he gets there and he's like, oh, hey, I'll take care of this rodent for you. And she's like, no, you won't. This is Jerry. He's my little pet. So she goes and she has this little pet that kind of hangs up on her shoulder. I kind of think of him as, he could be like a combination between maybe like a rat, a gerbil, a squirrel, or possibly like a ferret. You know, any one of those things can kind of be like little pets that kind of curl up on your shoulder and stuff like that. So she goes and decides to make a little sweater for for the rodent. It was just so funny. And I was like, okay, girl, go on. So she tells him she wants to help her neighbor. Her neighbor is this Dutch woman, and she's older, and you could tell that the woman is definitely going through depression. So it's definitely one of those things where She didn't ask to be kidnapped. She was taken. I don't know why they decided to take this older woman who obviously can't have any more babies anymore. I'm assuming she can't have any more kids. So it's like, why would you take a woman that can't bear children anymore? Duh. You know, so I'm like, kind of just doesn't help you. So unless they wanted to use her for something else. So the older seasoned lady, I can't pronounce her name the way it was spelled. Lacey, maybe? Lacey. But she's clearly depressed because when they go to her home, she's got like noodle packets all over the place and she just looks like she hasn't bathed, you know, in a while. And so she was told basically, you can't go back to Earth. Earth got destroyed. And so she's assuming her son probably is dead. And so she's missing her son. It just made me really feel bad about the lady, because that's the thing about Christmas is that it's not always a good time for everybody. You know, sometimes it's a very happy time for people, but for people like me, it's not always a good time because, you know, family issues, you know, that I have with my family. Every year I miss my grandma, you know, even though my grandma didn't always make the holidays great. My grandmother was very much like a Medea. She told you like it was, and she could hurt some feelings. And I love my grandma, but she was sometimes mean. And she would have never liked this world that we're living in now, where everything is very like sensitive and you got to watch what you say or you're getting called this or that, you know. So yeah, she she would not be handling this world right now. She would be definitely like, you bunch of fucking pussies, you know. She was that way. She was definitely that way. She was like, oh my God, stop being a goddamn baby, you know. She oh. I love my grandma, but she was fucking harsh. So this year is not always great for everybody. So for me, I try to do my best when I celebrate, because it's pretty much like it's for my kids. So I try to make it like a good Christmas every year for my kids and have them to see the smiles on their faces really kind of makes me appreciate the season. But it's definitely could be a hard time for everybody. So, you know, stressful, you know, picking up a lot of stuff. And yeah, it could be, you know, people are lonely. So, Sinath and Devon do their best to try to cheer up the older lady. And it was really sweet because in between of them trying to cheer her up, her and Devon and Sinath start to fall for each other. And I really liked it. It was sweet. And he was really sweet. He was really, like, he would joke around, but he clearly was, like, very shy and, you know, didn't know how to, you know, interact with human women, you know, so I thought it was really sweet. And then he talked about this story of, like, how he got kissed by another woman, and he thought it was the most disgusting thing. So she was kind of like, well, I don't want to kiss you. It's gross. So he was like, okay, let's try it. And then when he kissed, he was like, wow, that wasn't like the kiss he had before. So I thought it was really sweet. He was just like really new to it and stuff, and really wanted to like experiment, you know? So I thought it was really sweet. I really liked it. So the next one I have is, I have two books that have since gotten recovered. So the Claire Kingsley. I really like the Bailey Brothers series this year. There was only one that I wasn't a fan of. So I'll put up the 2 books here that are got recovered. So I really liked Protecting You and Fighting for Us. This had Asher and Grace. And this is definitely the first one was a childhood friends to lovers. It was really sweet, but then it ended on a cliffhanger. And then you had to go into the second book, which was Fighting for Us. And that is a second chance romance. The couple in the first book ended up getting separated. So the second book was them like having the second chance romance and dealing with the trauma of what both of them had dealt with. So I really like those ones. And then I really love the third book in this series. So this, of course, has been recovered, but I like this cover better because it's a guy. So, so this one here has Evan Bailey, and it's Evan and Fiona. And this one I thought was really cute because you have a reclusive introvert hero. He's a mechanic. He lives up in the woods with his dog, and it's a grumpy sunshine. She comes to his place she feels bad because her dad took advantage of him and like basically stole something from him, you know, stole money, because he went and like bought a car, but the car was stolen. So he basically got, you know, taken to the cleaners basically. So she felt bad. So she was like, well, let me help you find a better car. So they do a road trip and they end up getting involved. I really liked it because she was like, she really loved talking to her plants. She named her plants. She was really sweet. I really liked this one here. It was really cute, small town romance. And of course the families, like it's a rival family between like the Bailey brothers and these other brothers. So it's like every book you kind of like see these shenanigans that go on with like these rival families and the stuff that they do pranks on each other, but then it starts to get like really serious and you're like, well, what's going on? Are the other family like doing stuff to endanger us, or is there something else involved? So it's really interesting. I really like the series, but yeah, I really like that cover better than the other one. So, you know. And then the 4th book I wasn't a fan of, but then I liked the 5th book in this series. So we got Chasing Her Fired. So this one here is Logan and Kara. And I said, it's Hate to Love, Surprise Pregnancy. He's a cinnamon roll hero, feisty heroine. There's great banter in here. So throughout the series, they did not like each other. Logan and Kara did not like each other. They hated each other. They would say stuff to each other. One night, they get drunk. There's a party. Both of them get drunk. Both of them end up sleeping with each other. And he wasn't wearing a condom. She gets pregnant. So she tells him, and he's pretty much like, yeah, I want to be around. I want to be a dad to this child. So I thought it was really sweet because you could see that they really didn't like each other, but once they kind of like put the P in the V, they were like, wow, we definitely have a connection. Even if it's just a sexual connection, we definitely have a connection. So I really liked this. I thought it was really sweet. And, you know, you could see the buildup of them, you know, starting to get like romantically involved and stuff. So I really like that one. The last book in the series, I don't have that one yet. I still need to get it, is Rewriting the Stars. So we got Levi and Annika. Now, Levi and Logan are brothers. And so, and this is a Friends to Lovers, Forbidden Romance, and Single Mom. Now, Annika is a part of the family that they don't like each other. They don't like the Baileys. So her and Levi are pretty much like, we're done with this kind of thing. Even though they're kind of sneaking around a little bit. But they're kind of like in this attitude of like, man, let's figure out what's going on and why we are not liking the families. And let's figure out this whole thing, you know? And so they're trying to solve the mystery in the town. And they, you know, fall for each other. They used to like each other. They were friends in high school. you know, secret friends in high school. But they really still like each other, still attracted to each other. So they could do a little bit of sneaking around, and then things get like exposed, and so it's them trying to like, let's find the solution so we can be together. So I really like that one. So the next is, let me try to move this over a little bit. The next I really liked is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. Now, this got really popular last year, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, I do like Tessa Bailey, but I also in the camp of like, something gets super popular, I may not like it. So I ended up reading this one, and I did end up really liking this one. So we've got Brendan and Piper. Now, Piper's a rich white girl. He's a fisherman. She ends up getting in trouble with her stepdad and her mother, where she gets this party, she does something stupid, and it potentially could ruin her dad's reputation, her stepdad's reputation. So he basically forces her to go to Alaska. I think it was Alaska or Washington State, something like that. To go there and fix up her real father's bar. Now, her real father died in a fisherman accident. A lot of times fishermen end up dying. It's a very dangerous job. And so it's her like reconnecting with the town that she was just little when she left. She starts to reconnect with her grandmother that she hadn't seen in years. It was her father's mother. And I really enjoyed it because Brendan, he's a fisherman. He sees her when she first comes to the town. He doesn't like her at first, but then he warms up very quickly to her. I thought it was a little too quickly. It was a bit insta-lust, insta-love. But I did still enjoy this one because it was just a cute story, you know, and she learned a lot, you know, of like, you know, basically doing stuff on her own. There were some people that weren't a fan of her, but I did like her. I understood why she was the way she was, you know. You grew up with a rich family and they give you everything. You kind of can't blame somebody. They're a product of their environment, you know. So, but I really enjoyed the book still. So the next one I ended up reading, and this is a part of a series, is I ended up reading, this is Crying Wolf by Kerrigan Byrne. Now this is like the 5th book in the series. I have the whole series right here. Now this one here has Rosalind, and Elijah. And this one definitely is a marriage of convenience, age gap. It's a bit of a class difference because she's an English lady. He's an American. It does have a bit of insta-lust to it. So this is basically the continuation of this series here. And I really liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, it did have like a marriage of convenience because she was caught in his room accidentally. And so she was forced to marry him. But I really did enjoy this book, as well as the whole series. I really did enjoy that whole series. And you get to know, like, because this is all based on like sisters and stuff like that. So you basically get to know like the whole story. But I did really like these ones. They're short reads. You can get through them pretty quickly. So I did really like that one. And the next book I end up liking is Bright Like Wildfire by Juliette Cross. Now this one here is Bennett and Betty. So he falls first. It's a slight class difference. His father comes for money, or his father like did something to get money. And so he grew up with some money. And so she was like, I think she had a single mom or something like that. I think her mom was single and they were kind of poor, like growing up. So it's definitely Dislike to Love, small town. He's a more of a jealous and possessive hero, but he also has cinnamon roll tendencies too. It's a forced proximity, and he has anxiety. So he owns this, I'd say it's like a Trader Joe's store. And so she comes back to town, and she's a teacher. And so she decides she wants to join the local play. So when she joins, she realizes that Bennett's a part of it. They have a history. They kind of went to school together. He accidentally glitter bombed her boobs and in a play. And so she kind of hated him after that. And so he's kind of like, hey, I'm sorry, I glitter bombed your boobs. You know, like, I do like you. And so it was really sweet. It was really sweet small town romance. And I did like that. I thought it was funny that he glitter bombed her boobs. And it's like, it's just glitter. It's like, take some Scotch tape and just start, you know, taking it off. So, but I really did enjoy that one a lot. I thought it was really cute. The next one I read from Juliette Cross was Always Practice Safe Hex. Now this one here has Livy, which is Lavinia, and Gareth. This is part of the Stay a Spell series. This is book 4. It even shows it on here too. I like when they have them numbered. Thank you for numbering them. So, so this one here, she's a witch, he's a Grimm, and this is kind of like a hate to love where they're working with each other, they're coworkers. So it's more of like a close proximity type of story. And so I really enjoyed this. This was a little bit darker in tone to the rest of the series. It was because he's a Grimm, so it's kind of more of a darker tone book. But I really still enjoyed this one a lot. I did really enjoy that one. Not maybe nearly as much as I love the second book in the series the best. So this one here was the next one I read, which was Resting Witch Face. And so this one here is Ruben and Juliana. So it's Jules. So he's a vampire. She's a witch. She's like the strongest witch. She's I think it's an enforcer. I think she can go and take people's powers away. That's how powerful she is as of a witch. And so they're basically trying to do everything they can to help out werewolves. So they decide to go around the United States and in Europe to try to convince people to accept these werewolves into the this like guild area, you know, where it's like they're a part of like this thing where they help to keep peace with each other, things like that. So it's her and Ruben being in a forced proximity, and him telling her like, hey, I've waited long enough. It's a second chance romance, you know. He's like, I waited long enough for you, I'm pursuing you. So I thought it was really sweet. I did really like it. I will say, like, the first half of it was like a setup of like them reacquainting themselves again. But once it started to heat up, it was really good. And I really enjoyed it. And then I will say, what made me give this book 5 stars was the ending. The ending definitely made me give the book 5 stars. I hate having a cold because it lingers. So the next books I've liked is, this is Claire Kent. This is Last Light. This is definitely a prequel of this series here. It's a post-apocalyptic series. So we've got this, it's an age gap. An asteroid came down and hit the planet, and it kind of decimated a lot of things. And then also created like this sickness where a lot of people were dying from like this virus, which I think was caused from the asteroid. And so it's forced proximity, friends and lovers. We got Layne and Travis. Now, Layne and Travis both have lost someone close to them. She lost her grandmother, and then her grandfather had previous died shortly before that. And he ended up losing his daughter. They all died. And so they both leave the town separately, and they end up bumping into each other. And so she first was kind of brushing him off, like, no, I'm going to go by myself. She gets into a little scrape incident where she possibly could get injured. And so he helps her out. And so they decide to hang out for a little bit, go through, try to find more of the people from their town so they can kind of warn them that the place that they're going to go to is basically a trap, you know. So it's their romance. They start to get to know each other, and they develop feelings for each other. I really liked it. That was really sweet. So yeah, I'd say definitely read that one first if you're going to read this series, because it's pretty much like a prequel of the series. And then the second book in the series I really liked was Haven. Now this one's same thing, you know, post-apocalyptic world, except we've got the characters of Jackson and Faith, and Faith's family owned this farm before the asteroid hit, and so they're very self-sufficient. So after the asteroid hit, they pretty much were like surviving on their own pretty much. Jackson was living with them at the time because he was a troublemaker, like a troubled youth, and so they were trying to help him out. So after her parents had died, she was running the farm, and so he decided to help run the farm. And so they brought in like a bunch of people like that were stranded and needed help. So they're all pretty much living this little community. And so Jackson and Faith start to sleep with each other, and it develops into, you know, something more. This one's more of a novella. I did really like that one a lot. I thought it was really sweet. So this one here, it's basically love at the end of the world. That's basically what it is. I thought it was sweet. I really liked that one. So the next one I really liked in this series was Embers by Claire Kent. Now this one here is a big age gap. So we've got Rachel and Cal. This is a slow burn romance for the fact that when we open this up, Rachel's with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend's sick. He definitely has, obviously, the sickness that is from the asteroid. She's previously lost her mother. He lost his mother. So they're trying to survive on their own. And his father comes back into the picture and decides to help them. And so they all go up to his cabin up in the mountains. And slowly the son just kind of gets sicker and sicker until he dies. And so Rachel is there by herself with, you know, her boyfriend's dad. And so they develop a relationship with each other. First, it's like more of a friendship with each other. You know, first she has trouble trusting him. And then it develops into a friendship where they start to really like, you know, kind of like, you know, get along with each other well. And then it delves into there. They start to get sexually involved with each other and realize that they have feelings for each other. So I really like this. He definitely was more of a gruff, silent type, you know, kind of hard to express his feelings kind of thing. So I really liked it, but I will say, like, he was a little bit emotionally constipated. So, but I did still like the book. So the next ones I ended up reading. This is part of the Monstrous series. This is all male romances. So this is by Lily Mayne. We got Soul Eater. Now we've got the character of Wynn, who is the Soul Eater, and Danny. So this is definitely a friends to lovers. He's a part of the military reluctantly because it's either you live in the wastes and take your chances, or you join the military. So he joined the military. And Wynn, the Soul Eater, comes down because he leaves Earth for a time and then comes back, and he kills people. And so they try to trap Wynn. The military tries to trap him. And they end up, Danny crosses paths with him and ends up forming this connection with him. He passes out. They wake up, and Wynn deliberately got himself captured so that way he can get to know Danny, because he just it was something about Danny just clicked for him. And so it was their romance. It's basically, you know, like a road trip romance too, because they go around to different things and then they start to develop feelings for each other. I really like this one. And I'd say it has a bit of a different thing when it comes to anatomy and how this character's anatomy is. So going in, know that the anatomy is a little bit different. It was interesting though, I will give it that. But I really like this one. I thought it was really good. The next book in the series that I really liked was Eden. Now he is a big purple monster, but he is very sweet and funny. So it's definitely Grumpy Sunshine. Hunter and his friend Charlie are traveling back from doing this patrol, and they're part of the military, and so they end up going back to their base, and the base is just destroyed. You know, in the previous book, The Soul Eater, how it gets destroyed. So Charlie gets kidnapped by these creatures, and so Hunter goes to chase after them to try to stop Charlie from getting kidnapped, and he ends up falling in this like sinkhole, and so he almost dies, and Eden pretty much plucks him up like, hey human, what's up, you know, what are you doing down there, kind of thing. So I thought it was really sweet because it's basically their romance. They go on this like road trip to try to, you know, rescue his friend Charlie, and in the meantime, you know, they fall for each other. Hunter's very like reluctant, and also he is he has a disability. He has a prosthetic leg. Part of his leg has, you know, is prosthetic because he ended up getting an infection, which caused him to lose his leg, and so they had to chop it off. So he's very sensitive about it because he's like, he doesn't want to feel like less than, you know. But I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really sweet because he really was, Eden really was sweet toward Hunter and really kind of like had Hunter warm up to him. So I thought it was pretty good. I did enjoy that one a lot. And the next one I really, really enjoyed, this is probably my favorite of the series, but it's just so emotional, was Moth by Lily Mayne. He is a half human, half monster. If you can see from his tattoos and stuff like that, they're all kind of like this incantations, spells and things like that on his body. And he is really insecure because he grew up around humans and he was made to feel like a freak. He got neglected at a very young age. So he's very leery about humans. And it's him and Charlie's story. So I really liked it because he was a virgin, and when he got intimate with Charlie, you could see the level of emotion that Moth had dealt with for that first time for him. It was a very emotional thing. I don't know about you, but like if you can get intimate with somebody and you happen to orgasm, you know, sometimes it could be a very emotional thing. A couple times that has happened to me, you know, I'd say a few times. Where once I've reached the pinnacle, you know, it was very emotional and I started crying. So sometimes it can kind of freak people out where you're like, oh, did they hurt you? And I'm like, no, it was good. It was so good I cried. So there you go. But they're like, it's like happy tears. It's like all that emotion, that pent up emotion you had, it just kind of like, it releases. It's like a release for you, but nothing bad. But yeah, that's pretty much happened with Moth in this book, was like this like emotional release for him. And it just like, oh, I felt for Moth in this so much. And I love Charlie. and how he was so patient with Moth and understood why he was the way he was. Ugh, my cough, I swear. And I'm sure me talking probably doesn't help either with this cough. So the next book is Jillian Bondarchuk. I'll have to put it right here. This was The Shield and the Thistle. I'd say it's very reminiscent of like Outlander. If you like Outlander, you probably would like this book. So Maggie ends up, her name's Megan, but she goes by Maggie. And she ends up getting dumped and loses her job. So she decides to go to Scotland, where her grandma lives, and decided to take a little sabbatical there for a little while. She ends up traveling around these like cave areas and ends up falling through this cave. And dang it, this freaking cough, I swear. So she ends up falling through these cliffs and ends up traveling back in time. And so she meets Colin. Colin is kind of reminds me of like Jamie Fraser. And Colin takes her back to his laird and the castle that they're living in. And so they help her out, and she is doing like day-to-day stuff there, and her and Colin start to fall for each other. Now this does have a twist ending that I wasn't expecting, but I was like, you know what, I'm okay with it. So I really enjoyed this one. It was really sweet, and like I said, if you liked the show Outlander or read the books, you might like this book because it's definitely reminiscent, very reminiscent of Outlander. So I thought it was really good. So the next book I'm going to talk about is, I ended up reading Rev to the Max. I really like this one by Melanie Moreland. So we got Max and, what's her name again? Charlene. So she goes by Charlie, and so he's looking for a woman who could basically be like a maid, who could cook his food and also help him with his restoration business. So so he goes and talks to her online. He thinks he's talking to a dude because she says, call me Charlie. And so the night before, he meets this woman named Charlotte. They go and they have a one-night stand. The next day he goes to pick up Charlie, and it's Charlene. So it's pretty much like him giving her a chance to prove herself that she can do the job and all that stuff. And it's like this slow burn romance where he's attracted to her, doesn't want to admit that he's attracted to her, but you could tell like he's starting to fall for her, and she like makes his life better, you know. And she dealt with like a lot of different stuff, like dealing with a creepo before she moved there, and then she deals with like this creepo guy in the town and all that stuff. But I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really sweet, and definitely my favorite of the series is definitely the first book. So, but yeah, I really like that one. I'll have to reread that one again so I can put my little tabs in. There's like how many of these books I need to reread so I can put the tabs in, because I haven't had the time to do it. So, unfortunately. So the next one I did like from Melanie Moreland was Into the Storm. This is Joshua and Rabbit. She goes by Rabbit because that's what he calls her. But her name is Lizzie. So this is definitely like a snowed-in romance. The heroine is found in this car on his property, and when he goes and he takes off her clothes to try to warm her up, he realizes she's got bruises all over her body. So she's definitely running from something, and so she wakes up and she's got amnesia. And so for him, he's trying his best to deal with the life that he's living currently. Like, he has agoraphobia, and so it makes it to where you can't leave your house. You have a hard time leaving your house. So he, you know, can only do so much for her, and eventually they start to fall for each other, and then it gets to the point where they're forced to separate because they find out she has a husband, and the husband's looking for her, and the husband is possibly the, you know, abuser. So I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. And slow burn. It was slow in some areas, I will say that, but I really still enjoyed it. Even though it was slow in some areas, I did still enjoy it. And then the last book I'm going to talk about, because this video is way too long, is Kate Bateman. This is A Reckless Match. Now, this one here is rival families. It's called the Ruthless Rivals series. So we got Madeline Montgomery. She's part of the Montgomery family. And it's Griff Davies, and he's part of the Davies family. Now, Davies and Montgomerys have been fighting for years. And so this is an enemies to lovers, where every year you're supposed to go and meet up with one of the, you know, family members, you know, one of the Montgomerys or one of the Davies, and shake their hand, you know. But this time, Griff shows up and decides, oh, I'm going to do something different. So he decides to kiss her, you know. And so it's their romance. And I like this because you have like a lot of adventure in this book. You got like them searching these caves to try to see if they can find anything. They discover like this smuggling ring. They discover treasure. It's a really interesting story. And I really liked the banter between the characters. I thought it was really good. And like I said, the story was fun. It was a fun story. It was like a nice little adventure, you know. And the hero falls first. You could tell like he's been liking her for years. And yeah, there was also some cave sexy times. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I really liked this book. So hopefully I can post this video, because it is very long and it's sometimes hard for me to post very long videos, but I just wanted to talk about all of the books that I read this year that I really enjoyed. There's still ones that I still need to pick up. I still need to get them hardcover, you know, physical copies. So let me know down below what was your favorite for this year. Other than that, I will see you all on the next video, so take care of yourself, and be kind to each other, and I will see you on another video. All right, bye.